will become the ghost of number one. How does it feel to be the only one? How does it feel to be the only one that knows that you're right? How does it feel to be a loaded gun? How does it feel inside a chamber packed with piss and spite? Sure, life's no cherry, but a cupcake full of me. Shoot by, we shoot up his poison until the frosted tastes so sweet. Yes, giving it all, he's got the king of rebels hit the jackpot, but his finish line was an artistic flop. Yet even the critics can't outrun the ghost of number one. How does it feel to be the only one? How does it feel to be the only one that knows that you're right? How does it feel to be a chalk line dollar sign? How does it feel up at the address of the widow's right? Mrs. Lynn, the fruit of your labor gives us a savior. Nappy superstar. To you we bid congratulations. To him adulation. A blessed life begun. For the ghost of number one. How does it feel to be the only one? How does it feel to be the only one that knows that you're right? How does it feel to be a visionary poet? How does it feel to pack a pen with vinegar and insight? There's a party out there to be the only one for you. How does it feel to be the only one that knows that you're right? How does it feel to be down off the ground? How does it feel to be the only one who knows you're being buried alive? Mrs. Lynn, the fruit of your labor gives us a savior. Mrs. Lynn, the fruit of your labor.
So that was Twisted Illusion with Ghost at number one, and bugger me, they just happen to be here right now. Yeah, with Chris, Matt, and Philip. Twisted Illusion.
Hi.
Hello,
Hello, you alright?
you
Nice
crazy
one.
kids. How are you doing?
Crazy kids.
Oh, good, man. Good to meet
All
you.
good, yeah. You too, man.
Well,
Glad you
thank you.
enjoyed the cover.
Oh, awesome! And thank you for being in this country and not making me do this at like 3 o'clock in the morning because
Well, if it was up to me, we'd probably do it in the early hours because I don't sleep. So thank the other guys for being normal.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
So, Chris, how long have you guys been together?
Matt, I think you'll have to answer that one for me, sorry, because I'm the newbie of the group.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
Oh,
see,
boy.
Chris has only been in our band for about since January. Is that right?
Since January, yeah.
January, but we've been active for around 6 years or so, maybe just 7 years. Yeah, it's about 7 years. Yeah, I suppose.
Is it was it a Spinal Tap situation? Did someone spontaneously combust? And then,
we've had way more line issues than Spinal
The
Tap.
whole band spontaneously combusted like multiple times. Like there's just a fucking black hole, like kind of void. And then I happened to just fill that void, and Chris.
Yeah.
So that's how it worked out. Although I think I've been in the band for about since like
4 years.
2017,
Yeah, about 4 years,
like that. Yeah.
So what brought you guys together? Like, was there what's the word? Like sort of like a we want to be this kind of group sort of thing was, in terms of taste or.
I think early on for us, it was like I say, we've had a lot of lineup issues. I'm like the common denominator. It's probably me being a wanker.
No comment.
I think one of the definite like universal influences for us, other than Jellyfish, which is what we're here to talk about, is probably Rush. A band like that. That's probably the clear like stylistic aim we're always aiming for. But to go on to Jellyfish, because I mean that's why we're here. Like. They're a band I think we've all bonded over very recently, and really
absolutely.
kind of we definitely want to make a power pop album, although we've never done anything like that because we all love that sound, that kind of great 90s sophisticated pop music sound that Jellyfish obviously just nailed, and we're all massive fans of it. I got Phil into Jellyfish, and then
I mean, like I'd heard the song last year. I'd heard Joining a Fan Club last year, and I hadn't really given Jellyfish like the time of day after I'd heard that song. Like I'd heard the song and then like sort of moved on. But I remember Matt, we were coming home from a video shoot back in March, and you started playing Joining a Fan Club, and I was like, oh, what tune! I love this song. And you were like, bro, why haven't you listened to Jellyfish yet? So, just listening to those two albums just opened my eyes to the genius that is Jellyfish. I absolutely love it. Wonderful band.
And listening to them is, I mean, one thing, and it's awesome and everything, but you listened to them before you saw any video footage of them. You didn't know Andy stood up and played drums, or they did all the harmonies live or anything. Do you remember what the first bit of video that you saw was? That'll be for each of you. Right.
For me, I'm pretty sure it was the Jules Holland show that you showed.
Same for me, yeah. Same for me, the Ghost at Number One. I think that's why we all wanted to do Ghost at Number One, because it was all like, that was like our reference point for how we were going to model our cover, was that Jules Holland performance. And I just love Leonard Cohen at the end, who's like, yes, Leonard.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better seal of approval than that, does it?
Yeah.
And
what a great performance! Just absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Did you notice though when they did Bye Bye Bye? Apparently they were annoyed that they had to cut the song down, so that's why there's not as much energy in that song.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Oh, my
but even without you can tell they're not as bothered, but they still pull off this flawless performance of Bye Bye Bye.
Sorry, Chris. How did you get? Because I'm not asked you this yet. How did you get into Jellyfish? Like, because were you a fan before you came into TI?
Well, when I watched Rick Beato's channel a couple of months ago, this was before listening to the Spilt Milk album and that. Obviously, Tim Smith was a guest and obviously a really old friend of Rick's anyway. So he kept mentioning this band, Jellyfish. I was like, okay, I'll check them out. I'll get on them. And then obviously my proper initiation was very similar to what Phil's was, is that I think we were just on a car journey going up to Matt's old place, funnily enough. And they put, I think it was either Belly Button or Spilt Milk on. I can't really remember, but I think from what I remember, the first track was either Ghost Number One or Glutlet Sympathy, which my ears just kind of like sprung up. And then next minute I was just like, okay, no wonder Rick keeps mentioning them. Yeah, because they're that good. So I got into them around about that point. And that was, again, just early-ish July. So July, it's July now.
So we all, I think, know one, but I'm usually the person in my friendship circle who is known as the person that has introduced a million people to Jellyfish sort of thing. So I'm guessing, Matt, you're the...
I definitely do with everyone I come across. I do a podcast and I must mention them on every single podcast I do. Every musician I ever come into contact with who's kind of like... Because I know a lot of Toto fans and like I'm a massive Toto fan, so I guess I always kind of like, if you like melodic kind of rock and sophisticated pop, you're going to like Jellyfish. They don't sound anything like Toto, but I think the intention's the same. I think, the intent behind the music is to just write sophisticated, compositionally brilliant music, but still be very hooky at the same time. So I think like the kind of ethos of those kind of bands is what I always look for. So I don't know what the question was. Sorry,
No, you're the person that recommends Jellyfish to everyone.
Oh yeah, definitely to everyone.
My boss Well, my boss recommended Jellyfish to me as the best unheard Queen albums because he knows I'm a huge Queen fan.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I wouldn't necessarily. There are small qualities, but I always hate the whole mix Queen with the Beatles and then you get Jellyfish.
Oh no, the
so
one thing.
More to them. Yeah.
Me and Phil said this on our podcast that we. They sound like about 8 different bands, but they sound like none of them at the same time.
It's very, very true. They've got that sort of mid-90s grunge / alternative.
Yeah, they still somehow sound
rock
grunge.
Sound. Yeah, they've got that. It's that. I think it's down. Well, it's certainly down to the production. But then you hit with like a Beach Boys influence, then the Beatles, then just loads of different especially
ELO's
70s.
A big one. I hear a lot of ELO, but never. For a whole song, it's always like you'll get a 20-second ELO moment and then you'll get a 3-second Queen moment and then the Beach Boys part. It's like, I think that's why we chose Ghost on number 1 because I think it's the Jellyfish song to show the breadth of the palette. I think it has pretty much everything that is brilliant about them. It's got the harmonies, it's got the big bombastic guitar sound, huge drums, great keys, lovely falsetto from Roger, hell of a vocal from Andy. It's just got everything, harmonies. It's like the best showcase of what Jellyfish can do when you give them, a big studio and time to do something. And I think Ghost number 1's that's definitely why we chose it, I think.
Awesome. So when you guys perform live as well, how easy do you find constructing harmonies for your own songs? Because I find it reasonably easy, but performing them live can be really hard because I don't class myself as much of a singer.
Yeah, well, we did our first gig very recently after the pandemic. It was 18 months between it, and we have kind of a 3-part harmony structure. So we'll have 3 singers across the front. It's myself, Chris, and our guitar player Saxon across the front. So we always try and make sure that there's some sort of 3-part harmony structure and try not to miss out any harmonies that we can, because a lot of our songs are super layered. Definitely inspired by Spilt Milk, just how layered that is.
Sure.
But trying to do stuff like that live is really hard, and that's, I guess, what's so impressive about Jellyfish. And trying to emulate bands like that do pull off 3-4-part harmonies live, it's not easy to kind of construct live. You're always going to be missing something. So it's about how you tackle that loss and manage that loss and be able to still make it work. And a lot of the time the audience knows as well. The audience is aware that, you've not got the facility to have 6, 7, 8 vocal tracks. So it's just as interesting for the audience to go, that's great how they made that work. And ultimately it makes the live performance way more interesting for people, I think, because it's always going to be different to the record.
Yeah, and it can be hard to do as well, depending on the venue, depends who your sound man is, because how
many mics you might have.
Yeah, exactly.
If you get a sound man who's not used to mixing more than maybe 2 vocals at one time, you're absolutely screwed sometimes.
Well, the worst thing we have, and I often see it in some live Jellyfish stuff, and I don't know whether that was them maybe supporting someone or maybe being on a bill where they were playing with different bands, but I find it's hard when you're on bills where you're supporting and the sound guy's not really equipped to be dealing with the support band. They're just focused on what the headliner's sound is. And a lot of the times the sound guy will just dip backing whatever they mean by backing vocalists, but we have 3 singers on stage. I don't want anyone to be lower. I want everyone to be at the same level because we all sing together in harmony. We all need to be balanced in there, and you can adjust for that a little bit, but you often find that they'll always put what they perceive as the lead singer to be at the front of everything and really kind of bury everybody else. And we have trouble with that at gigs where they'll just put me in the middle of everything and bring everyone down around me as if it's backing singers. It's no, we're singing in harmony. Yeah. There's no backing here. There's no reduction of the other singers. So yeah, it's difficult to balance live. We've not nailed it yet, and I think we'll eventually hire a specific sound guy to work with us. But
well, that's what I was going to ask. But that's it almost seems like a necessary investment that not a lot of bands, either because I think bands themselves to a point, know what to do. But if you have a sound man who works at the venue and you're like, can you do this and this? Largely, they're not going to listen. They're not going to put they're not going to put a delay on a vocal for 2 lines or whatever.
No, of course not. That stuff's all left to chance a lot of the time, and it's unless you're like a touring band that's selling out venues, it's very hard to kind of like demand that when you're doing a gig, you know, at like a smaller level. And you're right. It should definitely be an investment of like having a sound guy that understands the balance of your sound, because I don't think I've ever done a Twisted Illusion gig where I felt that the kind of thing we're trying to portray has come across because of that, because they're not understanding that the other singers on stage aren't backing singers. They're part of the harmony. So it's like, it's definitely a battle. And I imagine Jellyfish must have come up against that when playing different venues.
Oh, I'd imagine. I mean, I think having Shalom live, who knew what he was doing and knew to put a lot of compression on everything as well, to make everything stick out and stuff like that, which always sounds like it would be a negative thing, but it actually is a necessity with regards to, you know, their layered production. I mean, because, you know, it wouldn't just be Roger on keyboards. You would have Eric with a keyboard over there.
Well, exactly that. We're really getting to the minutiae of it here. And I think, like, it's up to the band to kind of understand that and know that if you do have multiple singers, know why you have multiple singers. Is it there for support, or is it there because you're presenting vocal harmony? And is it, you know, what the intention?
Are you trying to sort of match the dynamic and sort of the arrangement of the original studio track? Like, certainly with Twisted Illusion stuff, you need to have all those backing vocals or harmonies up front, because they are up front in the studio version. Having them down any lower would really, you know, take away from the fullness of the arrangement and the composition of the tracks. So I'm guessing that would also be the same for Jellyfish's stuff. I mean, you've got string layers in the background, which can only be replicated so well on the kind of synths that they've got. And you've got like extra percussion and stuff, you know, you've got tubular bells and songs, you've got tambourines and shakers, and you've only got, you know, so many hands to play the acoustic guitar you've got in your hand, the keys that are in front of you, you know, all that crazy kind of stuff. Yeah.
And the one thing about Jellyfish, I mean, they never specifically tried to replicate the record on stage completely, because I mean, it would be quite hard, but they do make sure to get the hallmarks of a song. Like I've seen now She Knows She's Wrong, when that little breakdown bit where the bells go like, they make sure that that's in there and it can be heard clearly with the acoustic guitar as well. And it's the quiet moments as well as the fully fleshed out arrangements that make Jellyfish definitely a cut above a lot of bands.
The attention to detail with everything, with the production, with the vocal arrangements, with how everything's voiced, everything's just such an attention to detail kind of thing, and it's clear that comes across, and that's what really makes me like them. Because on a surface level, like a band like Jellyfish wouldn't be something I'd listen to personally. That kind of power pop sound, there's not many bands that sound like Jellyfish for me that I'd listen to. Yeah. But there's something in the way they arrange and the sophistication in how they do it, and just the clear intention behind it, that it's not just thrown together as a band writing 3 or 4 chord pop songs with a bit of distortion behind them. It's so well thought out, and you can't help but appreciate that. And that's kind of what drew me in as a fan. Just the element of sophistication, I guess.
Absolutely.
I think the only band that I could really possibly have a good comparison with Jellyfish is Klaatu, the mid-70s progressive pop, power pop kind of band. They're very, you know, influenced by the 60s Britpop and 70s prog rock. But I can confidently say that's probably a band that would have directly inspired Jellyfish. They sound very, very much like them, especially on songs like California Jam and no, song's gone. But California Jam by Klaatu. That's like,
would you say
it could be a Jellyfish song?
Mm-hmm. Would you say that they were like a musician's favorite band sort of thing, in the way that Jellyfish is a musician's favorite band? as well?
Strangely, no. I don't really know anyone that's actually listened to Klaatu.
I mean, you told me to miss it. You told me to get into them. I've not checked them out yet. I'm
I'll
gonna do
go away and do it
that.
after it's finished.
But I can tell you now, they are the 70s equivalent of Jellyfish, and they're very, very good.
Bold claim. That's a bold.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, so Chris, you were the brainchild behind the arrangement.
Apparently so, yes.
So is this why you've got no hair now? Because you tore it all out trying to figure out the harmonies and everything? Right?
Yeah, I got to that point eventually, yeah. And it was just the summer conditions as well, yeah, the wig had to go. I miss it at times, but I don't at the same time. So, how that came to be, it's funny actually, because a couple of weeks prior, just before we actually did a couple of shoots of what we were talking about before, I actually did a bass cover of Ghost at Number One.
Yeah, you actually shared it, Pablo.
Yeah, that's right.
In the group.
Yeah, that was the long-haired version of me doing it.
Yeah.
And it's a good job I did that, because obviously I remembered how to play the bass for when we did the cover eventually. And then Matt said to us, right, Chris, we're doing a Jellyfish cover. We're going to do this one. I'm thinking, okay, so I've got to make some time now and make sure I get these parts done and that. So I obviously used heavy reference of the Jules Holland performance, just for covering basics of the instrumentation. That's obviously not full-blown orchestration. That's the word, I can't think. On the actual cover itself, because obviously it's your own cover, you don't have to do it note for note, but at least include some major parts. So I started with the bass, I think, and then I did a couple of rough demo guitars, and then I tried to get onto the harpsichord sort of sound, which I couldn't really accomplish on the synth that I had with me at the time, but I did my best, and that's what you hear on the cover.
It's great, and that's what I've loved about all these performances. It's that they are interpretations. I mean, that's what Jellyfish. Yeah. I spoke to Eric about when they covered Eleanor Rigby, and it wasn't about just covering it. It was about their own interpretation and doing something new and fresh with it. And that's certainly what you guys have done with Ghost at Number One. So I want to thank you for taking part and really jumping in with both feet as well. The video is great.
We went to town on it.
Had to do a bit, didn't we?
It was very fortunate, because when it came to recording drums, I was already down in a studio. I'd been in that studio for about 2 weekends, recording a double album with Twisted Illusion. So I'd completed a half an hour long track in a day, and sort of at the end of the day, Matt was like, right, okay. Why don't I just record Ghost at Number One? So I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
And you got your forks out and everything for the percussion.
We got a bit of percussion in there. Yeah, we didn't have any shakers or tambourines and stuff. We just had to improv it on the spot, but it turned out really nicely. And it was the first time I'd actually done any vocals, especially.
Yeah, it's the first time you sang with CI, wasn't it?
I couldn't believe that, Phil. That was immense, that man.
Yeah, because I've never really considered myself a singer, but I really wanted to have a crack at a Beach Boys cover. I covered Lonely Sea, and I'd done all the backing vocals and stuff, and done loads of harmonies, and I really, really enjoyed it, and showed it to Matt, and he was like, oh, you've done yourself in there, mate. You know you're gonna have to sing for us now. Okay, all right, fair enough. Well, that's the first time that I've ever had my vocals recorded on a track. And I was really happy with the way it turned out in the end. There's some really nice harmonies in there. I tried to emulate what was going on the original studio one, just because it was it's glorious. It's just glorious. So trying to figure out the harmonies as we were recording them, just layer by layer.
Sorry, come on, Pablo, you'll be able to tell me, because I'm not as up on the Jellyfish trivia.
Oh, see, now you're gonna. Okay.
What's Nappy Superstar?
What are those lyrics? What are the lyrics during that thing? Oh my god!
I'm just assuming that he was born to be a superstar.
Oh right, yeah, of course, that makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I never put two and two together. I just thought it was some weird, sordid lyric. I don't know. I just imagine this ripped baby superhero in a nappy Superstar. I was just I don't know why.
Oh, amazing. So, and you guys are so lucky to know each other and be like, right, we're doing Ghost at number 1 tonight. You know, I wish I could find 3 musicians who live locally who would
that'd be great, wouldn't it? We are going to play it live as well. We do plan to play it live. That's going to be another task, is putting it together live. We do actually have a plan to, in 2023, when it's the 30th anniversary, we want to do Spilt Milk in full live as a band. So that'd be great. Maybe we'll come to Newcastle and do that.
Definitely come to Newcastle and do that. Well, I want to thank you again for being a part of this. And before we wrap up, where can people find your music and what have you got coming out very soon?
So you can find us primarily on Facebook, Twisted Illusion, official TI band. YouTube is probably a good place to check out our music, as we have a lot of music videos on there, and we are releasing a trilogy of albums across the next 18 months. Excite the Light Part 1, 2, and 3, and it's a kind of prog rock trilogy, I guess you could call it. It's full of harmony, full of lots of absurd things, but there's also some very catchy pop rock songs that are definitely inspired by Jellyfish, because there's a big kind of influence in there between the 3 of us. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and if you like what we do, I'd be grateful if anyone checks us out.
Oh yeah, the titular title track is out now on YouTube. Excite the Light, the music video is out now, and you can pre-order tons of merch from the Twisted Illusion Big Cartel website. So go check that out. We've also got plenty of albums for sale on Bandcamp, because throughout lockdown we were working on a whole bunch of an album every month, essentially, an album every month of material. So there's plenty to choose from. But
we've got a hell of a lot of bootlegs as well.
The Twisted Illusion Big Cartel.
Starting on the bootlegs, lad.
Oh, amazing. Well, all links will be, I don't know where he's going to put them. My editor, who currently working to the ground with all the videos that I'm sending them. But all of that will be put on as literally as you guys are saying it, it'll all come up. So good stuff.
Thanks for having us, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mate, again, thank you for just looking at my very cryptic who wants to do a thing? And then you were like, yes, me.
That's like any excuse to do a Jellyfish cover. Any excuse. I'll do it.
Awesome. Right. Well, thank you again, Twisted Illusion. Check them out. And I hope you enjoy what is coming up next.